Right. Welcome to the live stream. I'm Rob. I do live news commentary, newsmentary, every single weekday. How do you like them apples? Plot out. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Do that so you can stay up to date with all the latest newsmentary this channel brings. Also have a new video out about Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. I believe his last name is Italian for scheming creep, but Dean is a fraud in real estate, and he somehow leached his parasitic suction cup of a mouth onto Tony's beehole. I don't know how. We're not a minute in. I gotta watch my language. And those two schemers, hard times create weak grifts. So go watch that new video I just released. A lot in the news. A lot of stupidity in the news. And there's a few things we got to talk about. Number one, what's up, Curtis? So tired. I feel you, man. That sucks. What is the point of life if you just have to work and be tired? Someone today was like, you should go on vacation. I was like, I don't have money to go on vacation. I can't take time off. I have to work to have health care, and my work, I get no money. It's just, what is the point of life if this is it, you know? And what I'm saying is we can tax the wealthy, the people who have all the money, tax them, make them pay us more for our worth, for making them so rich, so we can enjoy life. God, I'll never get the people that just are like defending these billionaires and rich people. I'll never get it. But Larry David wrote an article, and by the way, if you're new here, hit subscribe, notification bell, so you can get notified when I go live. I put all links to the articles we're going to talk about down below. Where is it? Below me. That's a classic joke. But I put all the links down below, so you can read these for yourself. I try not to do gate-kept articles where they, make you subscribe for $1 to read this article. That's stupid. I refuse. But I think I got to read the New York Times Larry David opinion piece. But hopefully you'll get one free one. But Larry David, I don't know if you know this, Bill Maher went and had dinner with Trump. He had dinner with the tyrant king. And Bill Maher after was like, I don't know what everybody's talking about. It was pretty awesome having dinner with Trump. I made him laugh, and everything I see out in the public was absent. And he said all this bogus stuff. What's up? Kilmeister. Nice last name. Curtis, all I do is work to stay poor. Can't even afford to go back to school. Curtis, that's how I feel. It's like, you just can't afford to go back to school. By the way, Trump's WWE secretary of the fucking joke's on us. She's reinstating the student loan debt, and our country's going to be a nightmare in a year. A nightmare. We're in America, the worst country in the world right now. A self-proclaimed king is defying Supreme Court orders, denying people due process. I mean, we already had one revolution for the things this guy's doing now, and people are still like defending him. I'm like, you knuckleheads this country would have never been founded if it happened in today's society, because so many people are fighting this DEI woke war. And it's like, you morons, none of that is real. Woke isn't keeping you working 50 hours a week. Woke isn't keeping your pay stagnant. Woke isn't making stock buybacks with all the biggest companies happening so you can't get paid. Woke DEI is not forcing us to use our taxes on wars instead of our health care, which we should be funding our own health care like every other civilized society. I would love to move to another country, but I don't know, how do you pronounce your name? Can you type it in like the spelling? Type it how you would pronounce it. Sorry. Kilmeister, that's what I'm gonna call you. Kilmeister. I would love to move to another country, specifically like Canada, Vietnam. But here's the thing, being American, coming from the bloodline I do, John Brown is my family, I feel a patriotic duty, which usually when people say that, they're wearing like an American hat and a snake divided up that says "Don't tread on me," but then they're like kissing Donald Trump's ass. Donald, he is the dumbest name ever. You know his parents didn't love him if they named him Donald. But I feel a duty to try and communicate with people, have discussions with people, and make them see that these wealthy Bezos, Musk, Gates, Soros, whoever else, who are all these Teals, all these technocrat billionaires are ruining our planet. They're ruining not only our planet, but they are ruining our society, our economy. They're hoarding wealth at the top. Come to Bali. Oh, I'd love to. Sorry, I'm missing some comments. Hit subscribe and notification bell. Dude, Joel Hall. I'm scared for my son's future in this world. It is bad in our time, I'm guessing. I can only imagine what his will be in his lifetime. Joel, I feel that with all of my in being. Joel, I feel that so hard because I'm like, I can't even, like, I obviously feel bad for my kids and our kids' kids and kids growing up right now, but I'm like, we are suffering. We are witnessing due process be lost by morons. And we're going to talk about Larry David's. You have to read. Larry David wrote an opinion piece in the New York Times yesterday. I'm not for the New York Times, but I'm for this kind of satirical punching up comedy. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But just because, Joel, what you're talking about is our country is being run by these people who are trying to say you need to fight a culture war. Woke DEI is ruining everything. Transgender people. It's like most people have never even met a transgender person. I'm friends with many transgender people, and it's the irony of people saying this is America, the land of the free, but you're not allowed to be what you think you are, is fucking lost on them. And it's so irritating because it's like, if this is the land of the free, let people be who they want to be. But never mind that. They're making people like Pete Hegseth, who is again being reported on that somebody leaks that he has a second unconfidential, what do you call it? What's the word? Where it's not a confidential, it's unsecured chat leaking war plans. And this time, Pete Hegseth was texting his wife and brother about these war plans. I mean, these are the most unqualified DEI. Yes, inclusivity means like, oh, he was a white guy who kissed the president's ass. That's how he got the job because he's not qualified for this. And the proof is like he's already got 2 scandals where he's like texting on unsecured chats. Which, just think about this, folks. If you believe in like the Red Scare and all that communist propaganda, just think like Russia and China have very intelligent spies. And right now, the buffoonery, the clown car that is driving around doing all this stuff at the White House is absolutely making it so easy for any of their spies. Their spies are like, oh man, this is like, you know, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's like these people are just checked out. They're going from one scam to the next. So if you think, you know, our country is safer by all this exposure that's happening, you're wrong, okay? You're very wrong, because at those levels of intelligence, like, you need very smart people, very sophisticated people, not people who are, like, chatting war plans on Signal. Oh, God, my head feels like it's going to explode. Mel, hello. I think your shirt is on inside out. I wish it was. And if it was, who cares? I wear the same clothes every day. What is there to care about? You know what I mean? Tell me. Like someone today was like, you need a vacation. I was like, I haven't been on vacation in decades. I just work every day and that's it. I have nothing to look forward to. And I just feel bad for my children. And that's what we're talking about. Joel said he feels bad for his kids. I feel bad for my kids because, you know, not long ago in America, a few decades ago, people could work one job and go on vacation and buy a home. And now it's like, there's a lot of working people that have been brainwashed to think like, oh, it's a transgender person, someone across the country competing in sports, that's the reason why I can't buy a house. It's like, you fucking morons. It has nothing to do with it. They're making you focus on that. Well, the real issue is wealthy people avoiding taxes, wealthy people hoarding wealth, wealthy people and corporations doing stock buybacks. We are not guaranteed health care as any right. And it's all done by people like Pete Hegseth, who again is chatting war plans in like iMessage. I don't know what it is, but it's all exposed. And it's being leaked. It's like, this is the worst buffoonery ever. You know, people are going into medical debt because they get cancer. People are going into medical debt because they got ill. In America, this is a third world country. We just have the richest people here because they can take advantage, because they can grift all these morons. So Joel, I feel you, man. I feel you. Because it's like, what the fuck are we doing? You know, if I just got to work every day till I die, which is trying to move the retirement age up, or they already did. It's like, well, what the fuck is the point then? I'm serious. And I'm serious. I'm not even joking right now. Like, what is the point? I talk to so many people who just like work and they're like, I'm just exhausted. You know, I'm just exhausted. My boss worked 9 days in a row because this company grinds people out. It's just amazing because it's like, what the fuck? And that's what we need people to do. We need people to realize like, oh shit, life should be more than this. A little more. Like life shouldn't exist to make Jeff Bezos wealthier than, you know, anything. Like if he's sending women to space trying to buy good PR, it's like, well, at that point, you know, if you can leisurely send people to space, I think, you know, healthcare should be a right. I don't think people should have to work to have, you know, access to a doctor or a hospital or have to pay a copay. Like this is the bare basic shit, folks. Like this is not radical, but somehow Fox News has convinced most people like that is radical. That people should be making like $37 an hour, and that's going to shock you. That I said the minimum wage should be $37 an hour. I think it should maybe even be higher, but like that's shocking. Why? Because we have all been paid so little for so long. The minimum wage federally has been $7.25 since 2009. We've been through 2 recessions, a pandemic. We've been through all this shit, and they haven't even budged the federal minimum wage. There are still states that are paying people $7.25. Meanwhile, Congress, they're giving themselves raises. They're like, oh, this is unlivable. $174,000. How are we supposed to survive? How are my housekeepers going to still get paid? I might have to go back to indentured servants. It's like, fuck, man. And people are like, no. If you flip burgers, you should have to die in poverty. That's so dumb. And Fox News would label me radical, woke, socialist, communist. And I'm like, who cares about the labels? Listen to the words I'm saying. This is the most basic shit. In America, like people, burger flipper to, you know, stock trader. You all deserve to go on vacation during the year. Paid time off. Everyone. I don't care what you do. I care that you're a human in the wealthiest a country that made some people so wealthy they can bribe elections. They can spend they could do giveaway $1 million elections. It's like, fuck, do you guys hear what I'm saying? If you're not on this page, I need you to get on this page. Curtis, I just started working the sales floor as well as the warehouse, working more to see and have less. Yeah, it's crazy. Let's be honest, we're in store for a cyberpunk future. Oh, it's worse than that. If you look at that guy who's trying to live forever, he's already got like his son, I think or Milton Friedman, that scumbag. His son, I think, has a Tesla key fob embedded in his arm. And it's like, why do you think, if anybody's excited about getting chipped in the brain, why do you think they want to chip you? Because if you call in for work saying you're sick, they're going to use that chip to take your temperature, to take your pulse, to get all your readings and go, you're not sick, you're fired. You know, it's so much worse than, if you can imagine anything about the future, just know that is so much worse, because what these wealthy tech oligarchs are pushing for is to get rid of the American government. Read about it. Just read about it. This isn't even the news I wanted to talk about. There's real news I wanted to talk about, or things I want to talk about. But just read about it. They're all trying to start their own countries. They want to start their own countries so they can just be techno kings and nobody can talk back to them. They can't be challenged. They think they're geniuses. And really, Elon Musk, thankfully, the one good thing about him buying Twitter was he exposed himself for being a complete moron, racist dick. Okay, sorry, I'm not reading any of the chat. The guy that used his kids for unnecessary plasma fusing, Curtis, that's the guy. I don't know his name, but he is an absolute waste of oxygen. You know, he's trying to live forever. And my only solace in all the things he does, blood transfusion with his kids and looking at his kids' private parts and like all really demented stuff. You know, it's like, that's a news story and nobody is like calling CPS on him. If that was a news story about an inner city family that was of any people of color, of any different color besides white, people would be calling CPS. But somehow this rich fucking white guy gets to do it, and people are like, oh wow, he's gonna live forever. My one solace in that story is like, we know he's going to die, and that is going to be the most horrifying thing, because think about spending that much, millions and millions of dollars to try not to die, when death is just a part of life, folks. That's the one edge up we have on that guy. It's like he is going to be probably in tears, crying, while he's like, just transfuse more blood, make me a vampire. How did Edward sparkle so much in the sun? You know, while he's doing the Twilight freak out fucking in his twilight of life, it's going to be hilarious. Because it's like, bro, did you not expect this? Did you really think you could outsmart life? Oh, good God. I can't wait till that moment. Warhammer. Not too familiar with it either, but I like the Orc Boys. I'm not sure. Magic the Gathering. Magic. Love Magic. Levi the Kind. Ooh, I like that name. Levi the Kind. See, we need more. We need more people like that. Levi the Kind. All right, so Hegseth. If you have, I linked a video down below because Hegseth is being called out by having another exposed war plan chat, which just the fact that it's being reported to the press tells you, like, this dude is a buffoon. And I only say that because, listen, my wife's family, like my grandfather, my uncle served and stuff, but my wife's family is like special forces, like the elite of the elite in the military. And there's certain shit they won't, you know, she's been very clear, like, you don't talk about this, they won't tell you about that. Her mother's been like, nope, I was married to her dad for this long, never said anything. They're very, like, that oath they take it with pride, and they're serious about it. So Hegseth getting all this shit exposed is just hilarious, because it just shows how buffoon he is. But Hegseth, in this video, Easter Day C-SPAN video, which I linked down below, I think the Post put it on YouTube, and that's the one I found. But he's talking about, oh, I'm going to go, this is all fake news. Everything's fake news, of course. But he says, I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids. And his kids, you have to watch this video, because just his kids' faces behind him, like his kids are both like rolling their eyes, like, you know, doing the whole meme-worthy look. And I couldn't help but think, like, man, his kids are probably pretty quick, because having a dad like that who's just, you know, a loser, I don't know how else to say it, you know, because if you're drinking that hard and you have kids that old, that means you've been drinking since they've been much younger, and that's really sad to me. Like, that's a kind of loser where I'm not making fun of it. I'm like, oh, that's like real, that's like losing at life. You know, Pete Hegseth drinking that hard, and his kids, I thought his kids were maybe babies. His kids look like they're like 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm like, man, they probably seen some shit from their dad and probably had to like really grow up fast, and I can relate to that. So like their dad at a level of like, you know, humanity is at a loser level, but his kids' faces, and I wanted to put as the thumbnail, and even though they were on TV, they were the public eye, I couldn't help but think, and this is what I wanted to bring up about the Pete Hegseth thing. I really, you know, where the position Pete is in, I think it's the head of the Department of Defense or whatever. I always at least think when it comes to things like that, the Batman rule, right? Christian Bale, as Batman, explains to Robin, you wear a mask, or maybe I'm wrong with the movie details, I gotta watch that again, but Batman talks about wearing a mask to protect the people you love. Or maybe it was Spider-Man, but I think Batman did it too. But essentially, it's a superhero rule, right? In the Batman movies, Spider-Man, they're like, you wear a mask to protect the people you love. And during this whole Pete Hegseth story, not one person in the press, nobody, because who cares? You know, Pete Hegseth's answer is going to be, that's fake news, you're liars, you're not a real news, you're not real journalists. Like, it's fucking textbook. They've been doing this since 2015, right? Oh, fake news, anything they don't like, fake news, you're not real journalists. Why are they even bothering to ask him? I would just say, are you scared for the people you love? And then if he was like, what are you talking about? I would say the Batman rule, the Spider-Man rule, the quintessential superhero rule, the one that says when you're in a position like that, where you're defending our country or vulnerable to attacks, or when you're the Department of, in the military. I think this is like basic 101 shit in the military. They teach you, like, if you're caught, you know, or at least from what I've watched. But it's like basic superhero shit. Like, if you're attacking people and you have enemies that want you gone, you know, you want to make sure you're secure as hell. And that's why Batman, Spider-Man, they all wear a mask so nobody knows who they are. So the villains can't go capture their loved ones and hold them hostage because that's their weak spot, right? And to watch Pete Hegseth with his kids in the background talk about this signal leak is nothing, you guys are liars. I was like, why is the press not saying, what about the Batman rule? Like, you should always make sure that this stuff is totally encrypted, protected, if not for you, but for your kids, for your wife, you know, because if this stuff is being exposed, if you're exposed, if spies are getting your stuff, bro, you're not just putting yourself in danger, you're putting everyone you love in danger. Ample thought, my dinner with Adolf. Yeah, I linked it down below. We're going to talk about that in a second. So, you know, when you watch this Pete Hegseth thing and you realize, like, his kids look, I mean, they're his kids, but they look pretty cool because they're doing meme faces in the background. I don't know, just little kids could be amazing, right? They're just funny little humans. And when I was seeing them, I'm like, Pete, fucking shut up for a minute and just think about, like, your kids, you know, and nobody else. But, like, think about what you're doing and how, you know, you're putting in jeopardy. I can't even say if those are the people he loves the most, because I know some people don't love their kids. That's how we got Donald Trump, you know, Donald. You know his parents didn't love him. They named him Donald. So really, I linked the video of Pete Hegseth with his kids in the background. Again, I didn't put it as the thumbnail out of respect Pete doesn't have for other people, but I have for his kids. But I watched the video because their faces are classic. That's the little shit kid. That's the little kid shit that, like, is undefeatable in the funny department. When kids are making faces in the background, my kids do it to me, and as a dad, I was like, that's so wholesome. And it's from a Pete Hegseth video. And then when you consider what he's doing is putting his kids in danger and his wife in danger, all these people in danger because he's a high value fucking target in America, you know, when he's texting about bombing countries and war plans. I'm like, Pete, do it for your fucking kids. And that's where I realized, like, you know, people need to understand that. Like, the basic 101 of being in the military or being someone like a vigilante or Batman or Superman or not Superman, but Spider-Man is like, you wear the mask not for you, but to protect the people you love. And Pete isn't even trying to put on a mask. Pete's going out there full face, like, who cares if nothing's encrypted? This dude. Okay, so yeah, I want to talk about Joe Rogan too. Listen, Joe Rogan, I keep seeing these clickbaity articles saying Joe Rogan meltdown, and I haven't seen his meltdown. Does anybody know? Ample thoughts here. Do you know what Joe Rogan's meltdown is over? I have seen Joe Rogan talk about due process. I've refused to click on these Joe Rogan meltdown things, and I keep seeing people mention it, and I don't know if it's him talking about due process, because this is the one bad thing about society today. Everything has to be clickbait to get your attention, which means people will say, you know, like, oh, huge meltdown. And then you watch and you're like, did they not play the clip, or did they consider that a meltdown? Because I've seen meltdowns, I've had meltdowns, and most of the time they say, oh, meltdown. It's like, people are really, like, I think meltdown is that fight at the Waffle House where the woman threw the chair. I'm like, that lady's having a meltdown. But so Joe Rogan, and then we'll get to the Larry David, my dinner with Adolf. Again, link down below. Some more news just did a fantastic, some more news always hits Joe Rogan right in the kisser. Pow, right in the kisser. And check out some more news. And also watch Naomi Klein interview. I kept it down below. She was on Democracy Now!, author of Shock Doctrine, Rise of Disaster Capitalism. And a little self-plug. I have a new video out, Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. They're weak men and horrible scam artists, and I did their seminar last year, so you don't have to. Video out now. Hit subscribe and the notification bell if you're new. All right, Joe Rogan. Money has corroded Joe Rogan's soul. And I only say this because I've met Joe Rogan. We've interviewed him a long time. He, at one point, had integrity. So much integrity that he called into our radio show at 6 in the morning as soon as we started, because we had Carlos Mencia on the day before. And if you don't know, they have a history. Joe Rogan has accused Carlos of stealing jokes. I don't want to get into any of it, but, you know, Carlos was not on the up and up. Hence, I think he's disappeared. Carlos, real name, whatever it is. But essentially, Carlos was a comedy grifter, and Joe wanted to be the integrity king and call him out. And ironically, here we are 2.5 decades later, or 2 decades later, and Joe Rogan is now supporting Trump, fascism, even though he's had just recently an episode where he talked about thinking healthcare is a human right, which I'm like, well, why would you support Trump? Like, Trump Remember, he had concepts of a health plan and still nothing. I mean, I'm still waiting for his tax audit to be over so he'll release his taxes. Remember that one? Remember that one? I'm still waiting. I'm right here, Trump. Whenever that audit's done, I'd like to see your taxes, you fucking grifter. But there's all this news that Joe Rogan's melting down. And I wanted to break it down because I don't think he's melting down. I think if we're talking about Ned, that is Carlos Mencia's name. Ned something. It's like Ned Schmorganton. But Joe Rogan, just the other day on his thing, he started talking about how we have to have due process. He said, you got to be careful when you're fighting monsters, you don't become one. And I'm like, Joe, you're already a monster. You've already done the damage. You've already helped elected Trump, and you said that. You know, you had him on, you interviewed him, you made him look good. Same with Bill Maher with his dinner with Trump. But Joe Rogan, all it is, it's very simple. Joe Rogan was never a great comic, and that's not my opinion. Just go back and watch his comedy specials. Not top tier A-list comic. When you have to buy your own comedy venue to do comedy, it says something. But Joe Rogan, he's not in anyone's top 10. I don't even think he's in his own top 10, okay? But what happened was Joe Rogan got $100 million a year thing, $100 million from Spotify, contract from Spotify. And all of a sudden he felt himself boosted into this upper echelon. And just like every quintessential coming of age movie or just growing up, there's always like that group of kids that you want to impress or you'd like to be friends with, and maybe they give you a chance, right? And that group of kids, usually you learn the lesson you don't want to be friends with them, because we've all had the experience where you become friends with some people and you start to realize slowly that they want you to be mean to people to fit in. And this is in movies. This is like a cliche trope, right? That you want to impress a group of friends so you can finally fit in with the rich kids or whatever. And you come to understand that, like, oh, they're all dicks, and what they have in common is they like to be mean to other people. And that's exactly what happened with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was on this teetering course of, like, you know, because before the pandemic, he was saying, like, it makes sense you would wear a mask. He was like, it makes sense. That's why doctors do it. And then he veered off real quick. And ever since, he's been a Trump fascist regime supporter, anti-American, hypocrite, bullshit artist, grifter, selling mushroom pills for your brains. And that's what happened to Joe. Joe found himself in this upper echelon and really wanted to fit in. He wanted to be buddy-buddy with Dana White and Trump and all these upper echelon, to feel smarter than he is, right? And not only that, but he wanted to poo-poo on someone. That's the other thing. Sometimes these people like to punch down. Boston made Joe Rogan famous. Don't you dare say that. we're taking it back. We would like to rescind Joe Rogan being from Newton, Mass. We'd like to rescind the offer. Joe, you don't get to claim Mass. He's in Texas anyway. He belongs in Texas. Fucking on his elk ranch. Ugh. But Joe is just trying to impress these people and wants to fit in. He got threatened. His masculinity got threatened. And that's how you know these are like very selfish, ego-driven, fragile men. Because like Bill Burr said, everybody rollerbladed until one person made the joke, rollerblading's gay, and everyone threw away their rollerblades. Same thing with Joe Rogan. You know, he's too fragile of a man to endure any kind of critique. And also being elevated to that light of $100 million man, he starts to swim in different circles. And you saw this with all the comics he was putting on, Brendan Schwab and all these jokes, literal and figurative, all these jokes of comics. Like, they were not good, but they were his little parasites, the little suckers on the underneath of a shark. They were swimming along for the ride. Ooh, Joe Rogan money, Joe Rogan money. And they all kissed his ass. Very similar to Trump, you know? They all have hanger-oners that nobody tells them no. And that's what I saw in this meltdown, that one of his friends called him out on something, which I haven't seen it, but it's basic. He's a book that you know the end of the story. You read one page and you go, I know how this ends. But it makes sense that people are saying he had a meltdown because someone called him out. Because once Joe elevated himself, his ego got so inflated, he could buy his Porsches he always wanted. He could build his mansion, buy his comedy club, and he thought, I am indestructible. I am never wrong. I've heard people say that to me. Well, I'm this rich. You know, how could I be wrong? And Joe really believed that. And the circles he's swimming in, you know, that's what they believe. So this is just basic fucking, I want to impress people. I don't want to be critiqued bullshit. But in the way of that, Joe Rogan has trampled on a quintessential American right known as due process, where you're accused of something, but they have to prove it with evidence in court. And that is gone. It's not, is like, I had this debate with my wife the other day. It's not, yeah, Joe Rogan's like 3'8". BLM, I can't do it. I can't do it. You're out, BLM. I can't do it, man. When you talk about my fucking family, I can't do it. And you're just racist, you know? I'm sorry a black guy made you feel threatened one time. Like, that's all it is, BLM. You're a fragile, sensitive person who was threatened one time, and you were like, oh, they're all racist. Because I'm telling you, as somebody who's been in South Central, who's been threatened by a gang, I wasn't like, oh, they're all like this. You're just racist. Understand that, BLM. Understand that. And hit subscribe and the notification bell. Once your timeout's over in 24 hours, you can return. But if you get racist again, I'll ban you again. Joe is 3'8", ample thought. Fake news. You call yourself a real journalist? He's 3'8". He's 3'8". I rode in an elevator with him in Vegas. Right after we interviewed with him, we went to the fights. And he got in the elevator. I was like, what's up, Joe? And he looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, oh, sorry. So 3'8". 3'8", folks. Anything else? Fake news. You're not a real journalist. That's what we just got to start treating them like they treat us. I don't think he's 5'8", though. I'm going to be very serious with you, because when we stood in the elevator, he was not exactly as tall as me. Maybe he was wearing platforms. I don't know. All these guys that are anti-gender affirming stuff, they all love gender affirming things. Elon Musk, hair plugs, wee extension, or whatever he got that had forced him to have all his babies IVF. Like, all these guys are very much into gender affirming modifications, health procedures, but they just don't want anyone else to have it. It's so funny. He is tiny, ample thought. I think he's 3'8". Again, fake news. You call yourself a journalist? But when we rode in the elevator, he was, I guess, a gracious 5'8". I don't care. See, this is the other thing. People's height, I don't give a shit. My bigger thing is that, you know, he's a scumbag, and just now, what I was saying before is, like, you don't get to now Joe Rogan, after you helped elect the guy who was like, oh, I'm not playing by any rules. I don't listen to courts. I'm not listening to the law. I am the law. Don't critique me. Trump did that before. Like, guys, somebody said the other day, oh, Trump had no racist allegations before he was president. It's like, Trump had a court case claiming he was racist and discriminating against black people in his buildings in 1973. So he has a long history. It's not all, you know, don't blame other people because you're very stupid. And stop showing your stupidity off like a fucking peacock. But, you know, Joe is now complaining like, oh, due process is important. It's like, Joe, that's the wrong conversation. That was the conversation to have before the election. Donald has made due process disappear. He sent a guy from Maryland to El Salvador prison with no due process. It's gone. Once it's gone for one person, it's gone for all of us. Because it's just a Supreme Court 9-0 decision said you got to fix your mistake that you admitted was a mistake. It's like, we don't kind of get due process. George Carlin talked all about this. You don't kind of have rights. Either you have them or you don't. And if they can be impeded on like they are, then they're not rights, they're privileges. So due process, guys, if Donald Trump's already ignored due process for people, you don't get it either. So Joe Rogan's having this conversation a day late, $1 short, and a fucking brain cell, a lot of brain cells missing. Money make the man, yeah. Trump might be 5 foot. Well, did you see Trump? They said he was like 6'12", 200 and -1 pounds. I was like, yo, I like the NBA, and I know there's NBA players that are his height and weight, and Donald Trump ain't that. Plus, I love that somebody said he stands like a toddler because he's always leaning forward with his big gut. Donald. That name fits him. Old dummy Donald. So yeah, Joe Rogan, just if you see this conversation where he's having about due process, just understand that due process, Trump already disappeared due process like he disappeared them people. And once it's gone for somebody, if it doesn't apply to everyone in America, then it applies to nobody in America. But some people, just want to ignore that. All right, Larry David, My Dinner with Adolf. You need to read this article wherever you are in the world, because this is a master class. This, Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, you like my new video, go subscribe and hit the notification bell. Go watch my new video out. This, grifters, this is a master class. Larry David wrote an article, opinion piece for the New York Times after Bill Maher went and had dinner with Trump and gratefully thanked him and said, oh, he's nothing like he is on camera. It's like, Maher, you understand, it doesn't matter what he's like off camera, on camera. It's his actions that people don't like. But Bill is a conservative pretending to be a liberal. He's never been liberal. He's an asshole. I really hate, if you ever see his movie where he goes to like the Midwest and question people about God, I'm like, Bill, you claim to be smart, but you picking on what the movie shows is very uneducated people. It's like, if you're I never get this. Ben Shapiro shows him dunking on like freshmen in college. I'm like, smart people don't debate with much stupider people. Smart people challenge themselves. Oh, what was that show back in the 60s with that asshole he was, I don't know, but debate. Hey, what's up, Jordan Espinosa? Title 8 of the U.S. Code, specifically sections, outlines criminal offenses to immigration. Rudy, is it Beemore? I can't see it. Sorry. Rudy, who does due process get applied to? You should look that one up. Because it's not an argument. It's not an argument, and this is the exhausting things. Jordan, kind of. And I'm very sorry if I don't. Yeah. Ample thought. Yeah, Rudy, feel free to tell Ample thought about immigration law. He'll debate you. I'm just going to tell you you're a knucklehead, because once you start defending certain people don't get due process, then you're just not in America. You want King George III back here, shipping people overseas for pretend offenses. But Larry David wrote this article, right, called My Dinner with Adolf, and it is a perfect masterclass in punching up satire comedy. It basically outlines, this hypothetical guest who gets invited to dinner with Adolf Hitler. And they joke about the art on the walls when he first arrives with all his lieutenants and his stormtroopers. And he thinks to himself, wow, these paintings are really nice. They were probably stolen from Jewish homes. And then he continues on. I'm not going to ruin it for you because I really want you to read this. But this is the stuff that needs to be happening. It's just like with Joe Rogan. Like Joe Rogan, most comics, I'm not going to say all, but most comics are leftist leaning, especially in the smaller circuits. They're not these authoritarian types, They don't lean too hard into conservative politics because there's no room for humor in that. And Joe Rogan is not a comic, well, I guess not a good one, but you could tell his circles changed because he started to get fed more birds of a feather. And real comedy and real art, survives and flourishes in a more progressive free thinking. I mean, to create art, you have to have some kind of free speech and free art. Art is meant to challenge society. So without it, it would just be Ben Shapiro all day long. But this Larry David article, I'm the guy from Connect. Oh yeah, Jordan. Yes, thank you. I remember you. Yes, good to have you back, man. Good to have you back. Thanks for joining. Oh shit, I didn't realize how long I've been going. Sorry I keep swearing. Somebody said that was a crutch of mine, and I said, you're right. I gotta work on that. But I'll leave you with this. I linked the Larry David article. Jordan, if you have some time today, please do me a favor. Link below or just Google Larry David, My Dinner with Adolf. It's a New York Times article. I hate that you gotta pay. I should have screenshotted the whole thing, and then maybe I'll screenshot it and post it in my community section. So make sure you hit subscribe and notification bell. I don't know if you get notified when I do community posts, but I'll screenshot. I'll find it for free somehow, and I'll screenshot it. Because I hate that newspapers gatekeep the news and art like this. I hate that. I hate that they gatekeep it. It bugs me. Look up how much their CEO is worth and then tell me they need a fucking dollar. Go fuck yourself. Anyways, I will try to screenshot this because I think everybody needs to read this. And you need to understand what Larry David was saying here, and you need to understand why Bill Maher, no matter how much he defends himself and says, what am I going to do? What, are you mad at me? I don't hate the guy. And it's like, yeah, Trump is the leader of this regime. He has divided our country. He's made people think they're fighting a culture war when it's only a class war. He has spewed hatred for decades. Racism and hatred for decades. Look up his 1973 court case on being racist, Donald Trump, in the 70s. So this dude is a vile scam artist, and he scammed Bill Maher. Sorry, not Burr. He couldn't scam Bill Burr. That Canton boy is way too wicked smart. It's like reading The Devil's Diary, the book about Alfred Ross. Ooh, Jordan, I do not know that one. Thank you. If you could leave it in the comments after, or join our Discord, link down below. Devil's Diary, I gotta remember that. Thank you. I love hearing about new books. That's why I wish YouTubers would more, some of the smarter YouTubers who are educated, I wish they would highlight books that really affected them or they loved. That's the other reason I started my Discord. Thank you to Solis for helping me build it out, because we have a book club in the Discord where we can leave links to different books. And I wish more people would do that. I think it's important, especially in this day and age of banning books. There's only one political party trying to ban books, folks. And I would hate to think that people are for the banning of books. So please, before this article gets banned, I hope it doesn't, read Larry David. Read Larry David's My Dinner with Adolf. Alfred Rosenberg is the guy who orchestrated all of it. Interesting. Thank you, Ample. All right, guys, I have to go, but it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me your time, for sharing your time with me. There was more I wanted to talk about, but I'm sitting in the boiling sun, and I got stuff to do, because I worked and my wife works, and then I worked and my wife works, and that's how our year is spent. And then we pay our taxes. Our taxes went up. We pay our taxes, and then the government says, we're not giving anything to you. Your roads are shit. Your healthcare is shit. Your community is shit. We're not going to pay you more. Oh, man. It's just brutal. Time for a second revolution. You know, a thought revolution. We need people to think differently. We need people to think it doesn't matter what your job is, you deserve to live and go on vacation. We need to stop acting like certain people shouldn't deserve stuff in America. And that some people should have it all. It's too much that they're trying to, you know, gut the government so they can be the government. Teresa, thank you for the comments, Teresa, by the way. I appreciate you. I hope you hit subscribe and notification bell. All right, guys. Jordan, good to see you. I hope recovery's going well. Ample, always great to see you. Peace and much love.